Welcome to the 9th episode of the JP Eisenhauer Show. I'm your host, JP Eisenhauer, here this week with special guest Caden Strickland to talk about the XFL, a league that's getting revamped after its 2000 failure. It had one season where in 2000 and they were unable to successfully start a second season. However, this time, learning from the AAF and the USFL and their past failures, they might be able to create a league in the spring, and it would really be a good idea just because you have that minor league team and there's no competition for football in the spring. The teams are the Dallas Renegades, the DC Defenders, the Houston Roughnecks, the Los Angeles Wildcats, and then we move on to the New York Guardians, Seattle Dragons, St. Louis Battlehawks, and Tampa Bay Vipers. There's a lot of old NFL players coming into the XFL. So, Caden, which player are you looking at the most?
My favorite player in the XFL, I'm really looking forward to watching Aaron Murray play. As we saw at Georgia, he's the all-time leading passer at the University of Georgia. He had a career passer rating of 158.6, and he threw for over 13,000 yards in his college career as a four-year starter. I think he can really make a run with the Tampa Bay Vipers, and I'm just really looking forward to watching him play.
Yeah, another quarterback to look at is the St. Louis Battlehawks quarterback, Jordan Ta'amu. He's the 6'2", 210-pound quarterback. He broke single-season school records in pass yards per attempt, 300-yard passing games, 400-yard passing games, and finished second all-time in passing yards and total offense and yards per completion. He led the SEC in both passing yards per game and total offense in 2018 at Ole Miss. He's truly a dual-threat quarterback as he threw for 19 touchdowns, almost 4,000 yards, and ran for almost 350 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's really an incredible player, and I think the Battlehawks are one of those teams that are really stacked in this XFL. Another player to watch, Donnell Pumphrey from the DC Defenders. He was drafted by the Eagles and was supposed to be someone who would really make a splash in the NFL. It didn't end up working out, and a lot of people say it's because of his stature. He is just 5'9" and 180 pounds, but he has the FBS record for most rushing yards in college with 6,405 rushing yards. His bench at the Combine was in the single digits, which really concerned a lot of people. He's not going to be a strength in between the tackle guy, but he does have 62 touchdowns, and he does have 1,000 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns receiving. He's someone who could do it in the air and on the ground. These are two players who I feel like you definitely are going to be watching Saturday and Sunday as the XFL starts. And now, another thing we need to look at, there's a lot of new rules in the XFL, a lot of changes from the NFL. One being the double forward pass. You could throw it once forward behind the line of scrimmage as long as the receiver catches it behind the line of scrimmage, and then that receiver can throw it again. What do you think about this new rule?
I think that this rule will really make the game more exciting, add a bunch of new trick plays that we've never seen before. I really think that it's going to be a exciting play to watch in the XFL.
One thing that's going to be really interesting is now on a running back screen, the running back can throw it. So that's going to definitely add another dimension to the game.
Yeah.
Another interesting change to the game is the point after attempt. After a touchdown, teams can attempt a 1-point conversion as an offensive play from the 2-yard line, a 2-point conversion as an offensive play from the 5-yard line, or a 3-point conversion from the 10-yard line. They've completely gotten rid of kicking an extra point. How do you feel about these new rules?
I both like it and I dislike it. I don't like I don't like that they took the kicker out. I think that they should at least keep the extra point, the extra point field goal in the game. But I do like that you can go for 2 and 3. I think that makes it easier to come back, and it'll make the games more high scoring and more fun to watch.
Do you think that maybe they got rid of the kick just because it's more interesting to see that 1-point play?
That probably goes in. That's probably part of what goes into it. I think that the extra point play, just the kick, is just classic football, but it will be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, some of these rules will be really interesting to watch. One that we might be able to watch is a new overtime rule. They have 5 rounds of overtime where each team will have 5 attempts at a 2-point conversion, and whoever wins will then go on. If they're still tied after that, they just do 1 round at a time until someone eventually wins. Do you like this new rule in professional football?
I absolutely love it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so fun to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll take on the college where instead of having an entire drive, you just have that one play from the 2-point conversion and it's 5 rounds. And it's unlike the NFL where sometimes you won't even get a chance to touch the ball in overtime. Would you rather see a team go into the overtime in the NFL or the XFL?
Definitely XFL. It's like that one play. It's just all or nothing. And I never liked the NFL overtime rule to begin with. I don't think it's very fair to the team that has to defend, since they have a chance to not, as you said, like not even touch the ball, not even get a chance to score, and they'd still lose.
Yeah, definitely a lot of interesting new rules and many more that we weren't able to mention. We went through the players and the teams. Who is the team you're rooting for, though?
Go Vipers!
No, you got to be a St. Louis Battlehawks fan, bringing football back to St. Louis. I know a lot of people up there are happy. I think that this league has a chance to really take off. What do you think about that?
I think it has a chance to be something that the AAF wasn't. I like the rule changes. It'll bring a new dimension to the game of football. And I think it's good for the players to, instead of just like sitting on the bench in the NFL, they'll actually be able to join a league where they can play and actually like have some fun. And if they do well in the XFL, maybe they can even get signed by NFL teams. Who knows?
Yeah, another thing that a lot of people were talking about is, since the XFL does not have the NFL's rule where you have to have 3 years in college, some players may be going straight from high school to the XFL, then the NFL after 3 years, because you do have to be 3 years removed from high school to play in the NFL. Trevor Lawrence's name was thrown around a while. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think in the future we could see some high school players coming straight to the XFL to get that early paycheck instead of going to college if they believe they're one of those players that can make it to the NFL.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting to see a player just come straight out of high school, no experience. But it would be interesting to watch, like, see if they can compete with older players.
What do you think the minimum is? Like, how many years this league will at least last?
I think it could last a long time. It'll need to have a bigger audience than the AAF, because that's why it shut down, because nobody was watching it. But these new rule changes, I think they'll change that, make more people want to watch it. I think it'll make it more fun to watch. I think it could last at least like maybe 10 years at least.
Yeah, I'm going to give it, at the very least, it's going to get through 2 to 3 seasons. It's going to do better than the AAF, which didn't even finish one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is a league that they've been around. They had a season before, and they've had all this time, the past 20 years, to really fix it and come up with these new rules and come up with the teams and how to market. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how the XFL and how many people end up showing up to these games. But, I mean, based off of what I've heard from a lot of people, they're expecting to have at least a pretty good amount of people, more than the AAF did.
I'm more excited in the XFL than I ever was about the AAF.
Yeah, I think the AAF, they didn't do a good enough job advertising, and then also they didn't have the money to pay their players before they started the season, which became a major problem.
Yeah, the XFL, if I'm not mistaken, is sponsored by the NFL, so they're going to have more money than the AAF did.
Yeah, the AAF didn't want to be seen as like a minor league NFL, but the XFL is completely embracing that rule, which I feel like is going to allow them to have more success. All right, well, that's going to be it for this week on the JP Eisenhauer Show. Special thanks to Caden Strickland for joining me this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week on the JP Eisenhauer Show.